So far, we've determined that viruses can be incredibly harmful to humans, but your research actually says that they may be beneficial to humans or to our environment. Can you tell us a little bit about your research?
I think a lot of people don't realize there's actually a very large number of viruses on the planet. So there's 10 to the 31 viruses. Now, that's a big number, so let's unpack it. If you were to put viruses, which of course we cannot see, end to end, they would stretch light years away from this planet. And we typically only study a few hundred viruses in medical virology. You know, COVID or HIV or Ebola, we study those viruses because they kill humans. But actually in your body, you have, first of all, microbes in addition to your human cells. There's more microbial cells in your body than human cells. And there are viruses which infect those microbes. And so in your body, microbes get sick too. And so microbe studies viruses that infect microbes. And whether that's in the humans or in soils or in oceans, it turns out microbes are really important to us. They help cause disease. They impact the way we think. In soils, microbes improve plant health, or they can kill plants. And in the oceans, microbes are responsible for a lot. Half the oxygen you breathe comes from those microbes. And so my group studies viruses that infect those microbes through all those different environments.
But you're talking about viruses infecting bacteria. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Viruses that infect bacteria we call phage. Viruses will take out a microbe that grows really well and becomes abundant. They will move genes around from one microbe to give a new one, a new feature or trait. And they can also reprogram those cells during infection so that the microbe no longer acts like itself, it now acts like a virus factory. And remember, 1 in 3 of the cells in the ocean are infected at any given time.
If I were to jump into the ocean and start swimming around, would these viruses that you talk about, would they harm me?
No. So if you swallow a mouthful of seawater, there's probably about 50 million viruses in there. We do know that these viruses are active on the microbes in the ocean, but not on you or even on the microbial cells in you.
If they don't harm us, why should we care about these viruses in the ocean?
Well, they're a natural part of the way the ocean works. We might think about fisheries. We get food from the oceans. Half of the oxygen that you breathe comes from these ocean microbes. What we burn off into the atmosphere from fossil fuels and burning forests, that carbon dioxide, which is causing climate change, is being halved by the oceans. And when the oceans soak that carbon dioxide up, it becomes part of the system, part of the natural ecosystem. And viruses, we're learning, are key integral parts of that ocean ecosystem. Everything's connected. And that connectedness includes viruses.
Dr. Sullivan, speaking of connectedness, one of the really cool things about science is science and scientists don't work alone usually anymore in the 21st century. But instead there's groups of collaborators locally, nationally, and even internationally. And so I know you're based out of Ohio State University working on this microbiome stuff. I want to bring in one of your colleagues, Dr. Chris Bowler, into the conversation, and he's joining us from Paris. Prove to me that you're in Paris.
Yeah, if you don't believe I'm in Paris, I'll show you the view from my window right now. How about that?
Oh my goodness, that's the lit up Eiffel Tower? You know, you're in Paris, France, and you're currently taking over this Tara Oceans project. Can you tell us a little bit about that interesting endeavor?
Tara Oceans was born about 10 years ago, and the idea was to perform a worldwide expedition doing sort of cutting edge oceanographic research, but bringing in as many of the tools as we could from sort of biomedical research like genomics for sequencing DNA, like microscopes to see what organisms actually look like. Plankton are a whole community of living organisms. They include bacteria, they include single-celled organisms like algae. They represent 2/3 of the biomass in the ocean. They do photosynthesis in the ocean. They generate half of the oxygen we breathe. Together with the bacteria, we also have other organisms in the planktonic world that make up this little living ecosystem. And one of the essential functions within the ecosystem are performed by viruses. Viruses are there to ensure movement of genes around the ecosystem, which allows organisms to adapt to new conditions to ensure balance in the ecosystem.
What do you want people to know about your work, your expeditions, and what makes it unique in the scientific enterprise?
You know, we hear a lot on television about going into outer space, sending rockets into space, learning new things about the solar system, about the universe, and all of that is fantastic. But sometimes it sounds like there's nothing left to discover on planet Earth, that we've discovered everything already, but that's not at all true. The oceans are incredibly unexplored places on our planet. They make up 70% of the surface of the planet. And there's all kinds of new things to discover about biology and about how our planet works. And it's also great to explore the oceans on ships like Tara. Being out in the open ocean, doing our science and being at the mercy of the ocean, science should be fun. And that's what science on board Tara is. It's a lot of fun, a lot of excitement.